Good morning, good evening. This is Ludica Pekina with GAI Insights. Welcome to Daily AI News Review, where we rate articles essential, important, and optional. Today, we have John, Paul of our regular crew, and a special guest, Ian Robertson, who is director at American Securities, and he works or monitors AI for value creation opportunities for companies that American Securities invested in. So welcome, Ian.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Great.
Great to have you.
Yeah, great to have you. So let's start with the first article. And welcome, everyone. I see Ram joining and many others. So you can monitor the articles at gaiinsights.com/articles and as we proceed. So the first article is about Meta that launches a standalone AI app to compete with ChatGPT. We have a couple of these standalone apps from the leaders today, and this is an interesting one. What did you think about this, John?
Yeah, no question in my mind, this is essential. I mean, Meta's there. They've got, this fantastic model that they're using. I used it some. It's a great shopping tool. As we've been saying, search is dead, long live search. Every brand and company needs to understand this because people are going to be searching in Meta, as and you can see Google traffic coming down. So we're going from these question engines to answer engines. And Meta, of course, has all this fantastic data about you that if you want to, it'll build, that profile even deeper. So I think it's absolutely essential. It's a big competitor in the space. And there's so many people on Facebook's assets that, AI leader needs to know that this has happened.
Yeah, there's no need anymore almost to create a digital twin. There was a lot of discussions and suggestions of how you would do that, to do exactly that, to create what you know, your data, to give an LLM to be more effective. What did you think about this, Paul?
Let's have a guest rater jump in, Ian. What were your thoughts?
Ian, what do you think? You seem to be on mute.
I'll jump in, Luda. I think Facebook's at 3.2 billion users around the world. I think we've seen with the Grok rollout in Twitter that the interface of is critical for engagement here. So I think it's strategic and important. And from a brand standpoint, they have huge influence on the buying cycle here. So I think in terms of product discovery, product recommendations, and influence, absolutely essential.
Okay, we're heading towards essential. Ian, it seems like I cannot unmute your mic, because for some reason. So are you still mute?
Yeah, Paul, let me also add, while Ian's figuring this out, let me also add, it's not just products, right? It's your company. Like if somebody wants to go work there, or there's a supplier trying to figure out if they should do business with you, this is, it's products and.
Yeah, I think the other thing is, in terms of the fake world, Instagram in particular has had a lot of good experience of understanding. I think there's like 14,000 fake Taylor Swift Instagram accounts out there, and they have the official one that that. And so in a world where 90% of the content is generated, having a referee indicate what is real is a potential role that Meta can play in, and has lots of experience in that. So, what really is the real Coke message and brand? What really is the real Coke job postings here? So absolutely critical. And they've got their own model here. So I think we're beating it. We rarely beat up essentials, Luda. We usually beat the heck out of optional.
I know. And I think there's another announcement from ChatGPT, from OpenAI, that is coming up that also rivals this. So this is cool. Ian, can you say something, please?
Oh, can you hear me now? Sorry, I was struggling with batteries on headphones. So I'm sorry, I missed a little bit of that conversation, but the one thing I would say about this is how much of this feels more Me Too than unique and differentiated. I think it's interesting that Meta are doing this. I'm not as convinced this is an essential read in that respect. I think it's catching up and doing something that a lot of other people have already done. I mean, I know the data's different, I know the models are different, but I'm not sure this is unique and differentiating in the way that maybe an essential might be.
Sure. I don't think the product features are unique and differentiating as far as we can tell yet, other than what they gather on you. But it's just the fact of their massive distribution.
Yeah.
That it's a whole new channel. If they didn't have 3.2 billion people on there, this wouldn't be essential for them.
I think that's reasonable. I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay, let's mark it essential and proceed then. So the next one is a post on X from OpenAI saying that they experimented with making shopping simpler and faster to find, compare, and buy products in ChatGPT. I didn't have this feature in my, and I didn't have time to try it, but it feels very, very useful. And it changes the dynamics of the ad propositions on Google and the like. And so this is, in my mind, is essential news that OpenAI is stepping into this. What did you think about this, Jan?
I think this is a really important. I mean, I think this is a really important innovation and movement that OpenAI are working with here. John, I know you've talked and written about marketing and using the large language models, especially from a promotional perspective, quite frequently, and you talk about that frequently. And yes, the idea of being able to just, I mean, I think there's another thing we're going to talk about in terms of payments in a minute, and I think this you can see an ecosystem coming together where not only can I find things and find the things I'm really interested in and talk with those things, but I can shop and I can pay all within my large language model experience, my chat experience. So I think this is important to essential. I think it's important. I think it's an important movement.
Yeah, I was going to give it an essential again, just because you look at the statistics, with the possible exception of certain kinds of coding applications, with Claude is very strong. I mean, OpenAI is, in terms of usage, is just way the heck up there, and this is interesting, for Google. It's the first time Google's had a real competitor, I think. And as Ashish was talking about back in the Meta thing, he said, Meta has the largest distribution after Google, and I would be willing to bet that OpenAI, at least for large language model, has the largest distribution, period. So really interesting.
Yeah, Paul, agree, essential.
Yeah, and the thing I would answer, I mean, I really like the term answer engines, but I think this is the next step. We've had search engines, we've talked about answer engines. Now that we are moving to task engines, actually doing tasks. And I think as we navigate this whole world of these agents here, the early experimentations are going to be on these low risk B2C type of tasks where you can have it go buy something for $10 and see if it comes through here. And that's going to happen in the B2C world, which is going to help us show how these agents can be more monitored and used in the corporate world. So definitely essential.
Yeah, Ashish is commenting that that changing the user behavior is challenging but not impossible. I think people will go with this because it's easier and it's personalized, and depending on the quality of it, it can get your items much quicker and much to your liking, skirting away from SEOs and the like. So this is a major change.
We've already seen user behavior change because there's so many blue links and promotion on Google. Many people now just go to Amazon before they start looking for products and make product selection here. So yeah.
Okay, essential it is. Let's proceed to essentials, changing the way it works on the web. Okay, so the next one, we have an article from Anthropic. It's a use case of how IG Group boosts productivity and saves operational costs with Claude for Work. What did you think about this, Ian?
So, so I found this an interesting read. It's a little bit of a light on substance promotional piece from Anthropic, in my view. It does talk to some of the use cases that they're getting value from, but you know, when I think about this in the context of all other sort of use case language and use case articles that are out there and use case sort of in the public domain, I don't think there's anything in here that really surprised me from a use case perspective. And what I felt about the article was that it was really light on quantitative substance. They talk about a 3-month payback, but you know, what was that? They talk about productivity, but you know, productivity improvement in certain use cases. They talk about 70 hours saved for analysts. But I don't know how impactful that is to the overall scale and productivity of this business. So it's something I've been sort of rallying against across all sort of use case publications in the space, because nobody's really quantifying it properly. And I'd love to see something more academic and more rigorous in terms of where the real value is coming. Like, there's lots of people saying I'm getting value. There's not a lot of quant substantive numbers around any of that.
Yeah, they give some results, but they don't give the architecture of the system, of how they did it, how many people are using it. So it's yeah, it's really light. So you think optional, right, Ian? You're thinking optional.
I think optional. I think it feels a little puffy from Anthropic.
Yeah.
I think if they'd run this through Claude, they might have actually got a better piece. I don't know.
John, what did you think?
Yeah, totally. Ian said exactly what I was going to say, including the robot should have helped.
Right.
So heading for optional, Paul?
Agree.
Okay, optional it is. Let's proceed to the next one. The next one comes from Prime Intellect. Sorry, my articles are at the very end of them. Sorry. So this is a company that is trying to really advance us in the understanding and computing of LLMs. So what did you think about this, John?
I was struck. I was going to give this an important because it's a whole another way to look at it. I mean, as I understand it, what they're really trying to figure out is how do you use the extra CPU cycles when you're memory and bandwidth constrained, right? Because you're swapping, what you're processing in and out, and so sometimes you can actually decrease the amount of memory necessary if you're willing to recompute, some of the weights or some of the analysis that you want, and and given that it's a lot like, I'm trying to remember SETI. SETI at home, the folks who were using off-time compute that you could download and help analyze radio telescope and other space data to see if we could find extraterrestrial life. And I think this notion of having planetary intelligence that could be used on spare computer cycle time and with a high latency network, and of course we'll start to include phones, because the Liquid AI article that we just reviewed earlier this week it was actually being deployed on the A24 chip in the Samsung phones. So I think it's a very, very powerful trend and idea. It's a technical article. I use the robots to kind of go through it and get the synopsis of it, but I was going to give it an important.
Ian, what did you think?
So I'm with John. I think this is an important idea. I think for those of us that have been in tech for decades, we see this cycle. John referred to it. You suddenly have applications that require more capacity, network capacity, compute capacity, memory capacity than you have available in your centralized environment, and so you then start to look for solutions to that. And so it's an interesting. I think it's an interesting concept. This is a tough read, this paper, if you're not deeply mathematical, but it's I think it could be important as an idea. I'm not sure yet. It's obviously it's not ready for prime time, but it's an interesting idea. So I think important is probably appropriate.
What I liked about this one is that it actually defined mathematically, put the formulas of how it works right now and how inference is done in a regular LLM, and then they put all these formulas together for decentralized version. So if you are really interested in how inference can be sped up or actually how it works, this is the article to decipher, and they lay it out step by step. So I like that. Very comprehensive, even though a little dense technically, but comprehensive. They're stepping it through. So from that perspective, I thought it's an important suggestion for the leaders who are interested to look through that.
Yeah. I'm on the opposite side. This is triple optional. This is a product announcement. Our leaders have day jobs with pounding surf. This isn't going to move the needle for their personal career. It's not going to move the needle for any AI goals they have. We've seen dozens of examples of people trying to use unused CPU and hard drives for the whole blockchain wave, and they always hit lots of things here. So yeah. I'm triple optional. I think I
kind of agree with you, because it's just for the people who are interested.
But let me make the case. We have an example of an AI leader right here, Ian, who's also intellectually curious and finds the time not only to deliver, millions and billions of dollars in value, but also actually read and do stuff. So remember, important isn't required.
Okay, Ian, are you important or optional now that Paul has spoken?
I'm not triple optional, certainly. I think this is an important idea. This is where we get into semantics. It's an important idea, whether it is an optional read for people who are intellectually interested but can't actually do anything with this today is a different question. So
yeah. Okay, guys, optional it is by the power of the chalk. Okay, let's proceed to the next one.
And Luda, I think we're just really dating. Our younger readers have no idea what the power of chalk is. Aren't all schools now using markers now? So it's going to be power of the marker or the power of the magic board?
Power of magic board, power of the moderator, whatever it is.
How business schools still use chalk, baby?
Okay, so we go to the next one. All right. MasterCard unveils Agent Pay, pioneering agentic payments technology to power commerce in the age of AI. It's a wishful type of article from MasterCard. It's a really big time product announcement. And what did you think about this, Ian?
So in terms of the importance of this announcement, I think the announcement is an essential announcement for someone to know. In terms of the article itself, again, it was a lot of we will be doing this and we will be doing that versus this is what we've done and this is how it's working today. But if we look at, if 2025 is the year of the agent, which I think we probably all agree is true. If agents are going to be useful, they've got to be able to do everything that we can do, and they've got to be able to do everything that we can do securely. And you think about the previous discussion about shopping in OpenAI. You think about the ability then for agents to go actually trade and take actions on our behalf. They've got to be able to do things like making payments, and what's the payment industry worth today? So something like this that is working on ensuring agent-to-agent payments and agent-to-company payments can be handled securely and reliably and in a trustworthy way, I think is an extremely important innovation and is absolutely necessary for all of this these agentic workflows to really start to take off. So I think this is essential to know. I think the article's a little bit optimistic in terms of what they're going to be able to do.
Okay, going for essential. John?
Yeah, totally. Look, we usually don't give essential to product announcements, but here we have Godzilla and Mothra coming together. We have MasterCard and Microsoft, and in payments, in agents. That's I mean, you got to know that that's coming. I mean, imagine an AI leader saying, "Well, how are we going to pay for this thing?" You know, when somebody actually uses an agent, and you know, and somebody says, "Hey, you know, by the way, Mastercard's in the middle of this, and we're working with Microsoft." You know, you'd be really caught off base if you didn't know that.
Yeah, and they mention that they introduced tokens, but they it's based on the proven technologies that that are out there. The contactless payments, secure card on file, things like that, so that they will build upon. So this is not just wishful thinking. Paul, essential, okay?
Done.
Done. Okay, essential it is. The next one is, okay, sorry, I'm on page 14 here. So the next one comes from MEM0, building production-ready AI agent with scalable long-term memory. This is a research article that essentially comes from the company that is Y Combinator backed, no other money it appears, for the people who put together one of the early RAG systems. And what they're here to do is to put together the memory, the long-term memory that can last along across the various conversations that could be extremely useful in agents, so that LLM do not forget what they've heard or got from the prior discussions, for prior conversations. And they suggest a capability that is actually working and working better than the other memory systems. So they compare it with RAG, the full context, with the various dedicated memory management platforms, and their systems seem to be working. So I rated it as important because you can't do much with this yet unless you are dedicated. So it's open source. It can be used. It's a layer that you can introduce into your system, but I think it's a tough doing. So that's my proposal, to put it as important. What did you think about this, Ian?
So I think there's a couple of interesting thoughts here. I think this idea of like contextual memory across an agentic workflow is an important concept that we've got to find a way to build, and we've got to find a way to build it again securely, because the value of these agents, you can't just have a workflow where there's a tiny amount of information passed, contextual information passed from agent to agent. You've got to have some level of persistence in terms of the memory if that workflow is going to be helpful. I also like the idea of the knowledge graph as a basis for that. I think that's an area that we haven't done enough work in. We haven't done enough work in corporations to sort of build knowledge graphs that provide richness and context to any of our AI applications today. So I think conceptually there's a couple of really interesting ideas in here, but I do agree that I'm sort of on the optional more on the optional side of this, because I think it's early stage thinking, early stage research, and I'm not sure what a lot of business leaders can do with this at this point.
Okay. So you're optional. John, what do you think?
You can make the case for essential. So Goldman Sachs has 200 folks who are doing, machine learning and AI. And there's things in here. This does a 95% decrease in latency and a 90% decrease in token cost. 90% decrease in token cost. I think if you're somebody like Goldman Sachs, we have 200, machine learning experts around building GSAI, their GS platform, and you've got a technology out there that can decrease token cost by 90%. I think you can look at it. So I'm on essential.
I can actually live with essential. I was trying to understand whether you can take their open source code and plug it into your application. It appears that you can. And if the answer is yes, I'm with John. Paul?
But this is a research paper, right? This hasn't been done. This is on the R&D lab.
It's been done in the R&D lab, and you can get the code.
You have the
Hasn't
code.
been done at scale commercially, but it's been done.
Yeah, optional or important. It's certainly not essential in my mind. They're definitely important for the things that Ian said. Certainly an important concept, but we're going to be seeing lots and lots more discussion in solving that problem. It's a critical problem, obviously.
Well, in that and this research, if we code it this way, enables experimentation for many other people, right? With the open sourcing it and creating a layer that you can introduce. By the way, I did mention, I apologize, there are two models, one in MEM0 and then MEM0, and I think there is a wiggly at the in there. It sounds like infinity sign. So MEM0 infinity, that's the graph-enabled memory.
Right.
So they have different performances, but both are very important concepts. All right. Again, by the power of the moderator, we'll put it as important.
Look how John is smiling. He loves the power. He can't wait to get it back, but he likes all unused is a moral sin.
Moral sin. I agree. Okay, John, this is the last article. So if you could, I'll stop sharing, and if you could get the scorecard. Ankaj is not here today.
Coming up. Be right with you. Just uploading right now. So, Paul, any announcements?
You're muted,
Can't
Paul.
hear you. You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Two announcements on the in the Boston ecosystem. We have a presentation today at noon with the Massachusetts Competitive Partnership. It's the 30 largest companies in Massachusetts that have a report about enterprise support organizations. And second is that we continue to get a lot of good feedback on interest in using OpenAI, ChatGPT, Enterprise, and Teams. And one of the things we're going to be doing today is putting out a Google form to see if there's enough interest in people joining a support group for both those products here, because we're getting a lot of feedback on that.
Thank you, Paul. So today we have 3 essentials, 1 important and 2 optionals. A big day for announcements, Meta, OpenAI, really cool things happening. So thank you all for joining. Ian, thank you for your wise comments. Really, thank you. We'll see you all tomorrow.
Thank you, guys.
Bye now. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.